Hey guys, and welcome back to the English Shooting live stream here from the English Shooting channel. For all of you regulars, you know what the deal is. Few topics to discuss, the main being quite an interesting one, the defence of the realm. It sounds a bit out there, but it's actually far more present within pretty much any discipline of target shooting here in the UK than you would think. Of course, for those that are new, hi, welcome. Thanks for joining. Make sure you like and subscribe, not just for the new people as well. If you regularly watch this and you're not subscribed, then why? And also hit that like button. It really does help. It helps get the channel out there. We reach more people. We introduce them to the sport. We get them shooting. We get more numbers. And maybe one day we can get handguns and semi-automatic rifles back, full-bore rifles back here in the UK. But I hope you've had a fantastic week, hopefully a week filled of shooting, with the nights getting shorter here in the UK and the weather taking a turn. It's going to get more and more difficult, but there's really no excuse. There's no room for fair weather shooters, so get out there, get shooting, and yeah, I just hope you've had a good time and a good week. So, the history of shooting sports, or the foundations of moreover civilian shooting here in the UK, on the Day of Remembrance, November the 11th, where we look back at people and remember people that we owe everything to. And you know, of course, it's very different than looking back at shooting sports, but there are very similar connections. And on this Day of Remembrance, I started thinking, well, how do you link that in to the channel? Of course, we can talk about people that have lost their lives, that have served this country, have served all of the countries and our allies, and have lost their lives, more importantly, but linking it to shooting. And there are some fascinating bits of history which has led us today of what we call target shooting, why we have it, why it was formed, and the remnants of the history that we see today within our organizations. And one of the phrases, and it is more archaic and historic now than anything really that pinnacle and meaningful, but the phrase defense of the realm, and it's really sort of Ronsil. It does what it says on the tin. It doesn't really need any explanation. It's defense of the realm, your country. And we owe that, everything that we do in terms of target sports today, we do owe to defense of the realm, the need to be able to defend your realm. And interestingly, if you look at the memorandum or the constitution of some of the biggest organizations, if not the biggest organizations here in the UK, they mention defense of the realm. And you can go, it's not like they bury it, they hide it. It's actually part of these organizations' charitable status, with a major caveat which we will get onto in a second. And to prove I'm just not making it up, because I could just be sat here making it up, if we bring up the National Rifle Association, this isn't the US NRA, this is the UK NRA. Far less political and arguably far less useful, but that aside, you can go on to here and say, who are we and what we do. And very early on, these days, the association is primarily concerned with promoting the efficiency of the armed forces and developing and encouraging civilian full-bore target rifle shooting in furtherance of defense of the realm. And we're going to see in a second with the United Kingdom Practical Shooting Association, the UKPSA, that it has evolved and is very different to how it previously was. But the organisation that seems to sort of hark back to the origins of this is the NRA. It is encouraging civilian, that isn't military, that isn't serving personnel, that is your everyday Joes and Bobs, you and I, taking part in full bore target rifle shooting in furtherance of defence of the realm. That is effectively the NRA's purpose. If we go over to the UKPSA constitution, again, sort of the foundational document of the organisation, you can see that it's worded slightly differently, and it does aim it far more at the military, at the MOD, and you can see that it's also its second objective. It's not its first, its main goal. Its main goal is the advancement of amateur sport of practical shooting and dynamic marksmanship, but behind it we have to encourage skill in practical shooting, providing instruction and practice in the use of firearms amongst Her Majesty's subjects. Yes, if you just needed a quick reminder, there in the UK we are subjects, so that they will be better fitted to serve their country in the armed forces reserves, or any other organisation. That's not like BASC or the NRA. There are many different organisations of the armed forces and MODs. I'm sure you can imagine which organisations they may be talking about there, in which their services may be required in defence of the realm. So yet again, the defence of the realm phrase comes up. It is still in modern constitutions today. This is, I think, is there a date on here? I can see in the actual file name, it is a 2001 document. So this is still relevant. It's still fresh. It is still very much within our shooting sports today, but the wording of this is armed much more in terms of serving the armed forces, or encouraging those within the armed forces to be better, not specifically, unlike the like the NRA, mentioning civilian target shooting. And the organisation that has the most to thank for where is it? Let's find it. The most to thank for defence of the realm is the National Small Bore Rifle Association. It was fundamentally founded out of a need for defence of the realm. And once again, you can scroll down. Unfortunately, it's refreshed the page and I had highlighted it, but it is here somewhere. Here we go. Well, again, their objectives. The objectives for which the society is established are to fit Her Majesty's subjects for the defence of her realm. You could twist that a little bit, couldn't you? By the advancement of skill in rifle and other shooting, by provision of skilled instruction and opportunity to practice, and for the furtherance of such objectives, to exercise lawful or any of the following powers. Blah, 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 blah. But once again, it doesn't actually say defence of the realm. It's defence of her realm. It's the realm of the monarch, but it's still right up there. The first line of the first objective, defence of the realm. And this all comes back to why shooting sports were started and the need for it. And there was a need. Whilst today, again, it is more archaic, and actually I'll explain that, or show you actually where that comes from. So having the NRA a few years ago, got in a lot of hot water with the Charity Commission. So there's various perks of being a charity, but there are very stringent guidelines. You have to meet certain requirements to effectively receive those perks, and the NRA came under fire for being questionably charitable. And that wasn't just in their actions in terms of kicking out clubs from their clubhouse and taking various clubs to court. It was actually, were their objectives and what they were actually doing, was it charitable? And their defence was, well, it's defence of the realm. That's always been an accepted charitable objective because it's defending the country. The UKPSA, as far as I'm aware, sort of saw the writing on the wall on this, and they changed. They went to the Charity Commission and they said, look, yeah, it was defence of the realm, but that was over 100 years ago. We've evolved since then. Actually, this is our main objective. Is this this charitable? And they worked with the Charity Commission and were able to iron it out, and that's why their main objective is amateur sport shooting, not defence of the realm. And you can see this with, these are General Council minutes. Again, unfortunately, I can't see the, it's General Council minutes 1406-19, where it actually states the Charity Commission takes the approach that such shooting is not charitable, since defence of the realm as a charitable activity is archaic. So they needed to change things around. This is why we saw and again, this is also why they got into so much hot water with the Charity Commission, because your Bisley is effectively run as a business, and charities can be run for profit as such, but it was far too commercial for the Charity Commission's liking, and that's why you see this definite split. If you actually, and I'll bring it up you later. We're only like 10 minutes in and we're getting the innuendos in. So if you go onto the NRA website today, you will see that welcome to the National Rifle Association, and you are presented with two. The National Rifle Association is still the charity. It just so happens to own the National Shooting Centre, which is the commercial side, is the non-charitable side, and basically they ended up sorting it out with the Charity Commission, going like, right, what's business and what's charity, and we're split it down the middle. And basically, because they're a business, they still get to kick clubs out of their premises and take them to court and do all that lovely stuff. But anyway, I digress. So where did this all come from? Where did the defense of the realm all come from? It all stems from the Boer War. Now, I will caveat pretty much the entirety of this discussion. I'm not a historian. I'm not actually that big into history. I chose geography as my option at GCSE, not history. Mainly less writing and more drawing, which suited me down to the ground. But spending a fair amount of time today looking into this, and I had vague understandings of it, but looking into the nitty-gritty and seeing the pathway of what we have today is, personally, I find incredibly interesting. So the Boer War was between 1899 and 1902, and we basically got our asses handed to us because the people, our armies were not as good a marksmen as the Boers, and we lost. We lost quite significantly, and not just sort of lost the war, the loss of life, and this was brought to the attention of various people quite high up, like the Queen Victoria, various, I think even the Mayor of London was involved with this, senior MPs, and various MPs and lords that you will be familiar with, like Lord, I think it's Lord or Earl Charlesmore, the Charlesmore Rangers, Lord Roberts, as in the Lord Roberts Centre, and it's sort of fascinating. We all hear these names at Bisley, we all hear these names within shooting sports, but actually seeing where they come from and the significance that these people played in modern day target shooting in the formation of what we have today is really fascinating. So we got our asses handed to us. It was quite evident that we didn't have the level of marksmanship that was needed, and the NRA was already quite established. I think it had been around about 40 years at this point, but it was quite elitist. I mean, at least they're consistent, but they were able to it was quite prohibitive for your average Joe, and to travel out there to Bisley, to have your own rifle, to afford ammunition, it was really only sort of the equivalent of the reservists back then that were taking part in target shooting that we know today. It was sort of the upper gentile, the upper classes that were doing it because they could afford to do it, but the people that you actually unfortunately go and send out on the battlefield weren't having regular exposure to firearms, to guns, to marksmanship. So when we had a big war, I don't know, like World War I, it was, prior to that, there was a scare that if we were to have another big war, if we were going to have to call up working men to go to war and to fight for this country, and it wasn't like it was today where we have aircraft carriers, we have fighter jets, we can drop a bomb from 1,000 miles away. It is, boots on the ground. It is men with bayonets, even back then it was horses and swords and bolt action rifles. So you really needed boots on the ground, and they really needed to be efficient and certainly better than the other side in using the rifles that they had. So in being concerned that as a nation we weren't very good marksmen, they looked at incentivizing people, that people were even paid to do this, and it was called again, a lot of this, there's no way that I'm going to remember all of this off the top of my head, but where is it? I do have it somewhere. I've got like a million tabs. I believe it was the Society of Miniature Rifle Clubs was formed. It says arguably formed in 1901, and it was the Society of Miniature Rifle Clubs that became the NSRA today, the National Small Bore Rifle Association, and that gave birth to something that a lot of people, again, I had heard of. I wasn't, I'd never tried it, never really understood what it was, but bell shooting. And basically bell shooting was the sort of forerunner of these miniature rifle clubs, and it was a sort of a spearhead into working men's clubs and pubs to bring up the average population's marksmanship. And bell shooting is incredibly precise, although there's nothing really for scale here. I've got some pictures of some old bell targets. So you're trying to shoot usually a 177 pellet into that hole from across a pub, basically, to ring a bell. And this wasn't just your casual thing. Well, it was a casual thing. It wasn't something that was quite scarce. There were a ridiculous number, and this is where it starts absolutely blowing my mind. That when was it? So you were shooting that size hole, that almost like pinprick hole, at either 6 or 7 yards. So it doesn't sound particularly difficult, but trying to hit a target that small and to try and keep steady and keep aim whilst you're at a pub, because you're at a pub, you're having a few drinks, you're not going to be as steady as you would like. So by 1905, there were 1,600 teams in Birmingham alone. Just in Birmingham, 1,600 teams. It's not 1,600 people taking part, 1,600 teams. I don't actually know how many people were on a team, but that's just in Birmingham, and there were reportedly 4,000 teams nationally. So this was a commonplace within your pub or workman's club. It was like your skittle alley. It was just something that you could walk into a pub and there would be people in a room with air rifles shooting at these bell targets. It was just part and parcel. It was like darts, like how many pubs do you go in today and you see a dartboard? It's the same sort of equivalence. But the bell shooting was sparked. I believe it was Queen Victoria that had quite a significant influence in starting that up. Then, of course, it progressed into the likes of 2.2 long rifle and 2.2 live fire. And again, there was this sort of staircase of classes, which the working men would be shooting the 177 air rifles because they were cheap. The ammunition was cheap. You could shoot them indoors with relative ease and safety. Well, safety back in the 1900s or 1900s. Or 1901. The term safety back then, quite vague compared to today. So yeah, you would be stood there in a pub shooting your air rifle, and of course then the next level, because of expense, because of availability, was your live fire miniature rifles, your 2.2, and then of course it goes up to the full bore. And there was a fair amount of mutual respect between the two. There was I found a write-up on bell target shooting, and it says this one thing just just made me giggle when I read it. On one occasion, a high-ranking officer from the Rifle Volunteers, those are the full-bore shooters, basically at the NRA at Bisley. So a high-ranking officer from the Rifle Volunteers was accompanied by the Air Rifle Club's secretary, Mr. Hurst, to witness a typical pub bell target match. When he left, he said to Mr. Hurst how anybody can hit that small target with such regularity, in such deathly silence, pressure, and in a crowded room filled with tobacco smoke as thick as fog, is beyond me and worthy of the highest praise. Any general would be proud to have such shooters. And it basically turned it into a game, something that was very, very serious, increasing the level of marksmanship here in the UK to be able to defend the realm. And at these times, wars were commonplace. We were yet to have World War One and World War Two, but we're having wars all over the place quite regularly, and it was quite likely that we were potentially going to have an invasion. The NRA, and this is where I always thought it was the defense of the realm and the Boer War that led to the NRA. It was the NSRA, but the NRA was originally formed because of a fear of invasion from the French. So it was still in preparation, let's say, for defense of the realm, but not to the level and widespread that we saw in 1901. Once we'd had those horrific defeats from the Boer War, that's when I think we really woke up as a country, and it was like, we need to get people shooting. So they made a game of it. They put it in pubs. If you're there in a pub and there's a game, how many people have sat there playing cards, playing dominoes in a pub, throwing darts, playing pool? You like to sort of have a bit of a competition, have a bit of a laugh, have a bit of a sport within the pub. So they turned it into a game, they turned it into a bit of a competition. And at the time, the level of marksmanship ended up rising. We became more efficient, and obviously not too many years later, that would come incredibly in handy when we had World War One, which of course we won. So would we have won World War One without there's a lot of ones there, without this call for the defense of the realm, without the NSRA, albeit under a different name, being formed, without this push to get civilians shooting? And whilst this was predominantly bell shooting, predominantly the small caliber air rifles and 2.2s, it did spark something with in the NRA, and there is an NRA timeline. And you can see here, and this is all on like the NRA's website, the NSRA website, and the UKPSA's website. And I think it's important, if you're taking part in this sport, just like it's important to appreciate the people that have sacrificed their lives for this country to give us what we have today, to understand, you can't, I'm very much a sort of forward thinker, look forward, don't think too much about the past, or don't dwell on it. But there's a lot you can learn about the past, and when it comes to wars, when it comes to military and things like that, we obviously can learn a lot from the past, but as a sport, we can learn a hell of a lot from our findings, from our sort of grassroots, as it were. So on the NRA, we have here this wasn't the bell shooting, but you can see here it was the formation of civilian rifle clubs. Whilst we had the sort of the invention, or we had bell shooting going on and more smaller caliber shooting going on, they also recognized that actually, yes, you can learn a lot from an air rifle in terms of the fundamentals and the basics of shooting, but you still need to get people behind the guns that they're going to be using, or getting used to centerfire full bore calibers. And the NRA, it was at this point that the NRA became the national governing body for civilian target shooting here in the UK, or civilian full bore target shooting here in the UK. So it's very much cemented in the history of these organizations. Civilian target shooting might not even exist if it wasn't for this movement to increase marksmanship, and we most likely wouldn't have what is Bisley Camp today without it. We certainly wouldn't have the NSRA that we have today, with all of the multitude of clubs that have spawned off of that up and down the country. And, you know, well, the UKPSA would still probably be here because IPSC was formed from very different avenues, but it was identified even in its formation that it could be used to aid in defense of the realm. So I know we can go off topic when talking about the likes of defense in various aspects, but this is something that is ingrained within our history of target sport and is still very much present within these organizations today. So I'm probably going to do a bit more digging on this, talk to people that know this stuff inside and out. Of course we're going to talk about this in a bit, but we've got the target shooting show next weekend. The NSRA is going to be there, so it'd be great to sort of go and hit those guys up and see if they want to, you know, potentially sit down and really document all the interesting sort of minutiaries of how it was formed, how important it was, and where what influence that later had on things like World War One or even World War Two. It does also make me quite sad in a way, seeing how popular, you know, 4,000 bell target shooting clubs across the UK, or sorry, 4,000 teams across the UK. That's 4,000 pubs. 4,000 pubs? Well, I suppose a pub could have multiple teams, but a lot of pubs that had teams dedicated to shooting. And it shows how popular shooting sports used to be, how common it was, how you know, how prevalent it was in sort of everyday life. And I know a lot of people talk about rifle ranges in schools. They talk about you know, school shooting clubs. And yes, in a lot of private schools you still have that today, but in state schools it's it's pretty much non-existent. That's what I'm looking for. And yeah, so it's, I mean, in a way, thankful, because there isn't necessarily the need anymore for, you know, this was in preparation, and as we saw in World War One and World War Two, for having to call people up for war. And with modern warfare, no, not the game, with modern warfare the way it is today, you wouldn't need the numbers of boots on grounds necessarily, because of the technology that we have, the equipment that is available, and the firepower that one person, one army personnel can put down effectively. So yeah, grateful that there isn't necessarily the necessity for this, but sad nonetheless that it's not as prevalent, that it's not as commonplace in pubs and in schools. And a lot of people say, you know, back then we had all this shooting sports, all this target sports, we had shooting ranges in schools. We didn't have the issues that we have today, and I'll just leave it at that. So it sort of shows that you can have guns, you can have shooting ranges and shooting sports left, right and centre without everybody getting shot. So yeah, I will. It's very rare that I get sort of a buzz about history, but this I think Connors was very sick of it by by the time I left the office today, because I was going, oh my god, this is, look, it's like it's Lord Roberts. This is what Lord Roberts was doing, you know, and you know, Lord Charles Moore and things like that. And all these names that we get used to and seeing them there. But yeah, anyway, of course, this is an interactive chat. So if there is any topics or questions that you want to ask, any help or assistance, guidance that you might need, that I hopefully would be able to give in getting into the sport, picking out a new gun, please use the chat box, the chat, to put your questions in, your topics in. And of course, don't forget to like the screen. Oh yeah, it's on your screen. Hit that like button on your screen. Give this stream a like, because it does make me make me very happy. And just out of curiosity, yes, I haven't had, I don't think I've had beer on a live stream for a few weeks, but I'm here on my own. My wonderful fiance is currently working, so thought I'd crack out and be keeping company by Mrs. Jane. So Hazy Jane from Brewdog, one of my favourites from them. I do have a second one. If we get onto the second one, that's when things might get interesting. Adam, hey Callum, how you doing, man? I am fantastic. It's been a a great week so far. Very, very busy in the run up to the Target Shooting Show, which of course myself will be at, Connors will be at, Paul, the whole Magload team will be at. So it's been long days, hard work, and very, very busy, but can't complain at that, really. But yeah, I'm absolutely fine, but I hope you're good as well, and everyone else in the chat, I hope you're all well. There's lots of evenings. Black guinea pig, CSR. Yes, I mean, you know, CSR. That's where that is the, I would say, the most akin to what the NRA or what the formation of civilian rifle clubs was. You know, people like to get very political and PC about it. Civilian service rifle is harking back to tactics and methods used for war, and they like to blur the targets more and more and more. But we did have the is it the figure 11s or the Huns? We had humanoid targets within CSR, and then it became more and more PC, so it's sort of this blurred camouflage mess. I'll actually bring the target up. But no, this isn't people, you know, like the likes of Yardy likes to sit there and circle jerk that people are pretending to be in the military. That's not what it is. It's more, I say it's more of a curiosity. It's more, you know, certainly the ones that are shooting the likes of Lee Enfields, it's like reenactment in a way, just with real guns. You know, as long as people aren't hurting anybody or shooting at anybody, what's the harm? You know, people like to go for full scale reenactments of certain battles, and you know, CSR is the sort of modern equivalent sporting version of the reenactment in a way. That's sort of how I see it. I've never actually done a civilian service rifle match. It would be interesting to go and see it. Well, I've seen it done. I would go and take part, because they are the modern CSR competitions, or the modern divisions, I think it is, in CSR. They use straight bore ARs. They're using modern firearms. You of course have the older ones, the Enfield, which gives you a little bit more of a challenge. Civilian service rifle targets. Come on, you can. Oh fuck! You would think that Google would throw this up. Have they literally wiped this from the face of the earth? These old targets. What were they actually called? I know Black Guinea Pig, you're going to know what they were called. Ban Mike Yardley, 100% agree with that. CSR still use figure 11 and figure 12. Thank you very much. I thought it was figure 11. Let's find one up. But you're saying they still use them. We don't use stupid... Okay, fair enough. CSR still use figure 11 and figure 12 targets. We don't use stupid, political correct liberal targets. I thought Bisley were getting really strict on it. I thought they were turning them into this blurred mess. What do you use the blurred mess targets for? Because they do look utterly ridiculous. But there you go. There is a figure 11. You know, you can't really mistake that for anything other than it is, but that's what they use in well, suppose like what GZUP saying is they are still using these today. I wonder if I can find the blurred mess. What's a figure 12 then? What's the difference between a figure 12 and a figure 11? Just more people with guns, not a bad thing. So number 12, is it just the size difference? This is just showing it the same. Or there's the Hun head target. Here we go. Let's bring it up. So this is one that I know as well. Is that used for? I know that I'm pretty sure this is used in various sort of competitions today. But yeah, I was pretty sure that Bisley had said that it was going to be all blurred. Oh, it's gallery that uses blurred ones. Wimps. Daniel, you spied it. The safe is being optimistic. Yes. Well spotted, Dan. There is a gun safe behind me. No update on the FAC. The safe is currently filled with air guns and other valuables. Was going to say, what is in the safe? New number plate. No. It is only air rifles in there at the moment. No licensable firearms. You bet. I give it a week and I have a knock on the door. We'd like to have a look in your safe. It's like, but if I really had guns I wasn't supposed to, I'm going to put them in the safe. Like, anyway. So it's gallery that uses them. Let's see if I can. Gallery rifle. So why does gallery use the blurred targets but CSR still use the figure 11s and figure 12s? Is it like the CSRs get like swept to the side, like we're just going to let them get on with their thing, but if we want to show anybody any guns and shooting, we're going to take them to the gallery rifles because they're a bit more PC. Like, what's like if one organization, if one discipline is using humanoid targets, why blur them on other ones? Like what's the bloody point? What's the point in blurring them anyway? You know, oh, they're shooting at something that looks like a person. Yeah, operative phrase in that, looks like. They're not actually shooting at a person. To be fair, I think this is what gallery rifle shooters should be using from now on. No, I mean, I would want to try it more. That's for sure. If they said that that's the sort of targets that we're going to be using, I'd be a little bit more interested. Maybe that's just me. But no, I can't find these bloody blurred targets. NRA, rifle target. No. Anyway, it's like a blurred camouflage mess. It looks utterly ridiculous. Why not just go for the ringed targets? Any hizzle. What have you guys been talking about? We need to do something about the terrible physical fitness / health of the UK before anything. Shooting, CSR. I mean, there's a lot of running in CSR. I mean, looking at the general physicality of the people that do CSR, I'm not saying it works, but if everybody did CSR every Friday, I mean, we should have like CSR, like Roomba, you know, like CSR exercise, shooting exercise classes. We were talking about this actually the other day. Paul Wyborn, actionaire extraordinaire from Magload, he's going to the gym at the moment. He's a skinny little Pole, love him, but he's trying to build strength and basically train physically to make him better at shooting. So he's doing various exercises in the gym to be able to transfer like on the range and on a stage. And we're talking about how far can you go in a gym doing exercises before somebody comes over to you and be like, what the hell are you doing? And I had the brilliant idea of taking in a rubber like fluorescent gun, putting brilliant idea. I cannot see why this would go wrong at all. Putting a hook on the grip and like putting weights on it, like doing weightlifting whilst holding your grip. You could even go as far to put like a dummy trigger in it and practice your trigger pull as you're gripping the gun. That looks a bit wrong. Just saw that in the corner of my eye. That's not what I'm doing. So it wouldn't be that high anyway. So they putting like weights on the grip so that you can you practice your trigger pull while having big weights. I'm going to stop doing that. That definitely looks wrong. And he's doing various. It's a lot. Certainly with action, it's a lot of explosive speed that you need from one point to another. If you want to see some of the fastest shooting, sort of the most dynamic shooting, go and watch an action air match. The way they move around the stage is absolutely phenomenal. So he was doing various exercises, and somebody did come up and say, "What are you training for?" And he's like, "Shooting." Okay, I'll leave you to it. But yeah, I think they should. It's been something I've wanted to explore for a while, like go to a serious personal trainer, and more for practical shooting, because again, there's a lot of movement. It's very dynamic. You need that explosive speed. You also need core strength, the stability. You also need stamina. It might not look like a lot of shooting, but when you're on a range from stupid o'clock in the morning till 4-5 o'clock doing 12 stages, you do get fatigued. You do get worn out. So working on your fitness, working on your stamina, your core strength does come in handy. And when you get into things like level 3s and above, certainly level 4s and level 5s, the stage furniture that they love to come up with, you get seesaws, you have to balance, you shoot on one leg, shoot around corners. So I'd love to go to a personal trainer and actually figure the optimum training regime for shooters, for either stability, because even for say Olympic discipline shooting, you have to be incredibly steady. That takes a lot of core strength, and you're doing it over a lot of time. So again, fatigue, and you're training the body to be able to be optimum for that is very important. I know shooting doesn't always have the best reputation for having maybe the fittest sportsmen and women in it, but doesn't mean that it doesn't help. Congratulations, John. Had an email from my local club. Now a full member of the club. Well, full member, you know what that means. Get that FAC application in ASAP. I hope you already know what you want. If you've been waiting to become a full member, that's plenty of time to be able to pick what you want and have that FAC waiting. Oh yes, that's actually so. Thanks, Black Guinea Pig. I knew, actually, when I was thinking of this topic, I knew this is the sort of thing that you would be absolutely shit hot on. But the mini rifle exemption, of course, that again is a huge part of not only our organisations or our modern day shooting, but also our laws. They are trying to change it, unfortunately, but the miniature rifle exemption allows actually the way it's written, I don't think they have changed it yet, but the miniature rifle exemption actually allows anybody who is not excluded under section 21, like custodial sentences and things like that, can go and buy a rifle up to 223 in semi-auto. No, sorry, it's 0.23. So you technically can go into a shop without a license, without being a member of a club, and buy a 223 straight pull, and just under the mini rifle exemption. It is mainly for 22 rimfire, and you still would have to find an RFD that would sell you a gun under under the miniature rifle exemption. But there was, quite famously, I know we've talked about it many times on this channel, full metal jacket ranges. A lot of people are going, no, don't do it, don't do it. Apparently these guys are still running, unfortunately, giving us a lot of bad publicity. Although their last post was 2019, but let's I mean, some of you have probably seen all the videos before. I don't really need to show you a video, I just need to show you a picture. So this is the full metal jacket ranges. Yes. Could please just humour me for a minute. Could you imagine if these guys rocked up at Bisley? You'd probably half the membership of Bisley overnight, because they would all have heart attacks. But could you just imagine, just they rock up to Lord Roberts Centre? Yeah, we're here to shoot. But yeah, this whole range was run on the miniature rifle exemption. These guys, without licenses, without being a member of the NSRA, the NRA, without any qualifications or training or instruction at all, were able to go and buy 22 rimfire semi-automatics and start up their own range. This is definitely not what the miniature rifle exemption is for. And actually it's because of this that they were looking to change the miniature rifle exemption to require you to have either an RFD or a firearms certificate to still be able to use the miniature rifle exemption, or to be able to buy the ammunition, to be able to buy the rifles. The miniature rifle exemption is still remaining. It's going to be more for allowing people to shoot. So, you know, we all say how difficult it can be to join a club, start shooting, find a club, and all that. The miniature rifle exemption is still there so that there is less of a barrier, so that people can start shooting. And as Black Guinea Pig quite rightly says, this all stemmed from the Boer War. It was, how can we make it as easy as possible for people to get out there and start shooting? Well, if we have an exemption that allows clubs to form out of nowhere, go and buy guns, and allow members out of nowhere to go and shoot, more people should be able to shoot. So yeah, that's a very good point. I can't believe in my preparation I completely omitted and forgot that. But anyway, I said I'm not a professional historian. I try my best. Saeed, the right to bear arms is fundamental. Thank you very much for that point. Not actually relevant to the defence of the realms. And I was talking about this prior to the stream, at how talking about something like defence of the realm, it could very easily descend into various other topics. To be clear, defence of the realm is not anything to do with the right to bear arms. Defence of the realm is purely about, well, the defence of the realm in terms of, in the context of the NRA, the NSRA and the UKPSA's objectives, is to raise the level of marksmanship here in the UK. It's about the individual's skill, not about the equipment. The whole thing and objectives of defence of the realm, it has nothing to do with the rights or ease or availability of the guns. It's about the level of marksmanship that everybody has. Although, again, exemptions to be able to own guns, but it's not the reason there's the exemptions under the mini rifle, again, to be able to buy a 2.2 semi-automatic or a 2.2 rimfire, is to increase the level of people's marksmanship by making it more available, not to make guns more available to own, if that makes sense. Sort of contradicts, but I hope you know what I'm talking about. Defending one's country is not archaic. Again, like, yeah, I appreciate all points of view. But defending one country is not archaic. Yeah, every country needs to be able to defend it, of course, but it's in terms of these organizations. It's not saying that defending the country is archaic. It's saying that having it as a charitable objective is archaic, because we don't, you know, we have the army, we have the military, we have various programs to keep us safe, and they are very proficient at what they do. There isn't, like we're discussing, this need for mass boots on the ground anymore, like we needed in World War One, in World War Two. Yeah, again, the quote that always sticks with me is Einstein. I don't know what weapons will be. It's something like this. I don't know what weapons will be used in World War Three, but all I know is that World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. So it sort of gives the context of, we have very powerful, very capable weapons as you know, modern developed countries, that you don't need to. Of course, there is still a need to stick a soldier on the ground in various cases, but not in the numbers. You don't need the numbers to be able to win a war. You need the technology. You need the firepower in terms of, you know, look, drones, in terms of fighter planes, in terms of is it CBMs? Yeah, CBMs, things like that. But anyway, that's it's boar as in boar. So I think it's Boer. I was told specifically today that it was Boer War, but I wouldn't be the first time I've mispronounced something. There are many gifs. Just say hi to my mum if she's still watching. #1 fan. Hope you liked. Belen shooting. No, If you're doing that, you're doing something wrong. Seek medical attention immediately. Full Metal Jacket is coming back according to Instagram. Well, yeah, this is a thing. Is it's like, so what they ended up doing is they spent a lot of time and a lot of effort getting this guy a firearms conviction. So I don't think he actually served any prison time, but anyway, he got a firearms conviction. He was then basically couldn't pass the Section 21, and I'll just for context, I'll bring it up because I have Google at my disposal. Section 21 Firearms Act. So here we go. And this is, if you've ever been to a club, you would have signed one of these. You might not realise you have. You probably should know you have signed it because you need to have been able to read it and declare that you are okay under Section 21. But Section 21, possession of a firearms by person previously convicted of a crime. A person who has been sentenced to custodial for life or to preventative detention or imprisonment or corrective training for a term of 3 years or more, or youth custody or detention. Jesus Christ, or detention of a youth offender institution for such a term, or who has been sentenced to be detained for such a term in a young offenders institute in Scotland, shall not at any time have a firearm or ammunition in his possession. That's not very PC. That should be their possession. So women get off. I wonder if that is actually a really good technicality. Well, it says his. It couldn't be her. So all women are okay under Section 21. Number 2, a person who has been sentenced to imprisonment for a term of 3 months or more, but less than 3 years, or to youth custody. I'm not going to do the brackets. Fuck that. Who has been sentenced to being detained for such a term in a detention centre or youth offenders institute in Scotland. Where the bloody jackets shall not at any times before the expiration of the period of 5 years from the date of his release have a firearm or ammunition in his possession. So actually, basically, the long and the short of that is if you have a custodial sentence or sentence to life, but then if you're sentenced to life, then you shouldn't be able to get hold of a gun, you would hope, right? Basically, if you have a custodial sentence for 3 years or more, believe you are banned for life, basically, from ever having a firearm. If it's 3 years or more, if it's 3 months but less than 3 years, then it's a period of 5 years that you have to wait before you can then possess. So fun fact, it's been longer for me than 5 years. That's right. I literally could have gone to prison for from 3 months to 3 years, and got my not necessarily got my license back. That is to be able to handle firearms, not necessarily get your licenses back. But I do know of people that have had custodial sentences, have served them, have come out, and they have got their licenses back in a shorter time than I have. Anyway, moving on. Yes, it does make a whole joke of the system. That's where I was going with it. Section 21. So he must have got a custodial sentence for 3 months or longer. Basically, I believe he's come out and he's just got his mate to do it. Somebody that hasn't had a custodial sentence. This is it's just, you hopscotch it, right? It's like, well, I can't run the range. I can't own or possess the firearms, but my mate can. And because of miniature rifle exemption, he lawfully owned those firearms because he found an RFD. Fun fact that RFD no longer exists. Surprise that. But he found an RFD that was willing to sell him a shitload of guns and a shitload of ammunition. He was in lawful possession of them, right? And this was actually part of the biggest issue of shutting down this range. One, there is no legal definition of a range, so therefore, no, in legal sense, no requirements for backstops for range safety in terms of being qualified, in terms of ROs and things like that. So health and safety does come into it, and you can sort of shut things down from a health and safety perspective, but it was much harder. So no formal definition of a range, and the miniature rifle exemption. He wasn't doing anything wrong. So, but he got this conviction, and basically, as far as I'm aware, has just given all the guns and ammunition to one of his friends, because they're legally still his guns. He's not allowed to handle them. He's not allowed to go and buy any more for a while, but it's still his property. He's able to then transfer the ownership of that property to somebody else under the miniature rifle exemption. And it does, whilst and a load of Americans here are just going to like lose their minds at this, and that's fine, because we're brothers across the pond. We have different cultures when it comes to gun. That's okay. We can have differences. It's one of the things that I like wholeheartedly agreed on in terms of tightening up our legislation, because what's the bloody point of having a firearm certificate, having all these checks and balances, when there's an exemption that somebody can just walk into a gun shop and buy a gun? It's sort of like, well, what's the, like one or the other. Either you can just go into a gun shop and buy a gun, or you need a firearm certificate or RFD or some sort of vetting, some sort of certification. Like, you can't have one and then have an exemption to, like, that's just a waste of time. So yes, it does make a mockery of it all, and that's why I was genuinely in agreement for putting in this caveat that you still needed a Section 1 certificate. You still needed a firearm certificate or an RFD to be able to run and own those guns. That brings it in line with the certification system. It removes this exemption that allows knobends like that to get hold of guns and paint us all bad. And this is one of the things that I always say. Disagree with licensing or certification or whatever, but I think, when something bad happens, it makes all shooters, all firearms owners look bad, right? So I think we should look at it sensibly, whilst it does seem counterintuitive to be calling for more restrictions. But if there is something that knobends are using to be able to get guns, and don't forget that the Times and Sean O'Neill and I think even the Daily Mail, they got onto this and they sunk their teeth in, and they were using it to call for like the banning of practical shooting, for God's sake. They were using it to throw mud at all these different disciplines, all these upstanding, sensible, safe disciplines under the NRA, under the UKPSA, under the NSRA, because of some knobends that found an exemption and were able to exploit it to be able to run a very poor range. So changing the legislation, that is literally the only thing they can do and it is this one club. As far as I'm aware, there's been no cases prior to people exploiting this and potentially putting people in danger because of it. So literally the only way they can stop this is by bringing in this new legislation, so that these people have to go through the checks and balances of a certificate. Callum, doing yoga and Pilates before you know it. If it would help with my shooting, I'm willing to try anything. You must be fit to shoot. I mean, look at the great George Digweed. That's a low blow. You can't poke at George, Sir Digweed. I think still the most successful sports person ever in any sport, in any era. Just he's the GOAT. He's literally the GOAT of sports. I don't think there's anybody that has that many world championships in any discipline or any sport in the world. It's like, what is he on now? It's like literally like I just got to check it because it goes up every year. George Digweed. Like, why this guy doesn't have a knighthood, I don't know. I mean, he has an MBE, but give that man a knighthood. Come on, Wikipedia. How many times? Oh, come. And he holds a load of world records as well. He has won 26 world titles, 13 sporting titles, 11 FITASC and 2 compact, 19 European titles, 4 European compact titles, and 12 World Cups. like 26 world titles. So, 13 world titles in sporting. So that's, that's spanning over at least 13 years of dominance. I don't know, name me, look at the likes of Lewis Hamilton and Michael Schumacher, right? That's rookie, they're on 7 and they're greatest of all time. George Digweed has 13 world titles in that one discipline. It doesn't even compare. It makes it 7. You're not even double digits. You're not even trying. And we have Sir Lewis Hamilton, but we don't have Sir George Digweed. How the fuck did that happen? I think there was a petition actually that was started a number of years ago, but maybe we should re-look into that. Gez Roberts, most RFDs would not even go there with miniature rifle exemption. 100% correct. And this is why people talk about, yes, this is actually sort of in a way a counter to the license argument or the certification, because we need self-regulation. If it wasn't down to self-regulation and RFDs were just whatever, there's an exemption. The only reason, I would say one of the biggest reasons we don't have more full metal jacket ranges is because RFDs, they self-regulate, whilst they would be more than legally able to sell anybody a gun under the miniature anybody a rifle up to .23 caliber. They just don't, because they have a conscience, they have a brain. Obviously one didn't. Is that not the same argument as arguing for licensing air guns and crossbows? Well, no, I said you either do it 2 ways, right? You either have certification and licensing, or you have nothing. For air guns, I think nothing works very well, because the instances are very, very minor. I'm not saying that. I've always said I am a supporter of our licensing system, because it looks at the person, right? It makes sure the person. I've said this a million times. Our licensing system looks into the person. Yes, it does restrict the guns and it limits the guns, and there's various hoops for different guns, but it predominantly looks at the person, which is what you need to be doing in terms of assessing suitability. It's not 30 round magazine or 10 round magazine, that all is bollocks. It does nothing. But looking at the person's mental health, their criminal record, their background, their sensibility, is what stops people usually, and we all know why that I have to put that caveat in, usually stops people from that we otherwise wouldn't want getting hold of firearms. However, my flip side, and this is why the UK and the US are vastly different, is that we had licensing or some sort of certification or some sort of registration very early on in terms of the firearms existence, in terms of the guns existence. America hasn't. So, there's something like 200 or 300 million guns in the US, and that's the ones the government knows about. Or I think it's a total estimated, even the ones that they don't know about, they estimate that. I'd double it. But anyway, I think it's estimations. It's in the hundreds of millions of guns in the US. That is putting in a certification system in the US is literally closing the gate after the horse is bolted. And that's why airgun licensing wouldn't work here in the UK, because we've never had that restriction on air guns, apart from obviously above 12 foot-pound air guns. And it's, you don't see people. Anyway, I'm not going to get down that argument. And this is what's happened in Scotland. The take up, we estimate there's X amount of air rifles out there, and only 10% of X or something like that was handed in or registered, right? It was some pitiful number. And that's because there are hundreds of thousands of air guns in the UK, air rifles. And I'm not saying that it's everybody. Everyone that didn't hand in their air guns is purposely being a criminal. You're going to get people that genuinely don't know that you need a license for them, and you're also going to get people that forgot that they've got some up in the attic, right? It's it's very easy to do, certainly with air guns. I mean, I genuinely, I have a number of air guns because it's the only fucking thing I can own and buy. But I genuinely don't know how many I've got. This, like, they're all in the safe, but I couldn't right now tell you how many are in there. So they get lost because there's no requirement. I don't have to keep them in a safe. There's just nothing else to put in the safe. So I might as well fill it with some sort of gun. So yeah, I'm not required to keep a record of it. I'm not required to know what the make, model, and serial number of every air gun that I own is, right? So if I wanted to go in, if I wanted to clear some space in that safe for something, and I went and chucked them up in the attic, like, I could, and then if licensing was to be bought in, if I went up there and I thought, I genuinely don't know how many air guns I've put up in the attic, and I go up there and I've put some in one corner and some in the other, and I just go up there, find a pile and go, well, that must be it. It's a very genuine thing that you could lose track of how many. It's a first world shooter problem, but you could genuinely lose track of how many air guns you've got. And that, I think, is actually more of the case in Scotland. People don't know that they need to go and get licenses for it, or they generally don't know that they've got an air gun stashed away somewhere in a cupboard, up in the attic or whatever. But yeah, for all those reasons, it's air guns and firearms here in the UK is very different. The reason our licensing system has an effect is because we have licensed and restricted from pretty much day one. In America, they haven't. It would be pointless doing so in America now, and the comparison I always give is drugs. If it's something like in America, there was 10 million daily users of drugs. Everyone knows the war on drugs has failed. It was a waste of time. It was a waste of money. If they're failing on something that 10 million people are doing, like, why do you ever think you're going to have any chance in hell in stopping what hundreds of millions of people are doing? Okay, the numbers here in the UK are much smaller. And I'm sure the government could find the resource somewhere to go door kicking and get every air gun out of sort of civilian hands. But you're still talking a lot. You're still talking a huge amount of numbers. Compare it to the Mars and Lever release. Everything is suggesting still that there are Mars and Lever release actions out there in the wild that haven't been handed in, right? The owners aren't aware of it. The current owners aren't aware of it. The police aren't aware of it. The Home Office aren't aware of where they are. But the numbers don't stack. And I would, if I was a betting man, I'd be down William Hill saying that there are still Mars and Lever release rifles out there under people's Section 1 certificates. It just absolutely smacks of that from the various inconsistencies with the numbers. And there was something only like 1,000 Mars rifles. They don't actually know how many numbers there are, and that's part of the issue. But like they can't even successfully hand in or take away 1,000 of something that should be heavily documented, should be on a system somewhere, should be noted, and is on a firearm certificate. Why would you ever think that you could do the same for air rifles? It's just, anyway. Yes, I'm sure the argument could be used for air rifles, but I think I've just explained why that would be utterly pointless. Scotsmen still see airgun misuse here in Scotland? Absolutely, because there's still knob-ends with air guns. It's like, that's the point. That's the whole point of this. The conversation is that just because they license it one day doesn't magically make all the guns disappear. Unless you do it from the start, then it has some sort of an effect. Vanessa, here if they make restrictions on air guns, they're such as licensing, why do you think it won't work? Here, they label stuff as a felony. I can never fucking say that. Felony. There we go. And one beer in, it's getting hard. And I haven't eaten as well, so I will be having dinner after the stream. So yeah, Well, it's only a 5%. It's only a can. I'll be all right. They label it a felony. So if you have that item in possession, you are indeed a felon. I think I've just explained why I think restricting air guns won't work, just because of the sheer numbers. It's a numbers game. They don't have the resources to successfully take in the Mars rifles. Why would doing it with air guns ever work? COVID luckily made more Americans that weren't gun owners prior to the pandemic buy guns. I don't know if it's well, of course it is COVID. I think it was less the pandemic, more the riots. It's like that's what really scared people. Because what's a gun going to do against a disease, right? It was people's reaction. That's what scared everybody in the US to going and buying a gun. It was like, I think a lot of people woke up to actually how unstable how quickly things can become unstable. So yes, and they're still having shortages out there. Like that's how many guns and how much ammunition they bought, right? They're still short on guns and ammunition. All Class 3 firearms in the US are registered. Some states like New Jersey have registration. Yes, however, Class 3 firearms were not always registered. So, I think, because I'm sure somebody's going to come up there and going, yeah, because criminals in the US still have, still get hold of full autos. I mean, criminals in the UK still get hold of full autos. But in the US, they were at one point far more freely available. And of course, criminals still get hold of them. So it shows that bringing the Class 3 registration worked. COVID has killed more people in England than guns. Let's ban COVID. Can't disagree with that. Regardless if you remember an item is in your possession or if you know the new law. Well, again, ignorance is never a defense, because it's the highway code. You have an obligation, having a driving license and driving a car on the road, you have an obligation to keep up to date with the current highway code, with the current rules of the road. And if you own any object, there is some sort of obligation for you to do the same. But whilst ignorance isn't a defense, this was one of the genuine scary things about the whole offensive weapons bill and the Mars and Lever release. There could be people within the shooting community that literally through no fault of their own could become criminals. It is a defense to some extent that, if you're not on the internet, if the police haven't contacted you, what the way firearms law changes and its intricacies and minutiaries, I pretty much do it full time, and I still can't keep up with what's going on, right? And to a high level, and I still miss things, and I don't see things straight away. How is your average shooter meant? What are they meant to do? Sit on the home office website, refreshing constantly, just in case a law changes. And this is, it's just why it was one of the massive dangers. And I genuinely think there are going to be people that end up with a criminal record because 6 months down the line, a year down the line, the FEO is going to go there for a renewal, and they're going to go, "That's a Mars rifle. That's Section 5 now. You have been in illegal possession of a Section 5." William Tail, why do you always focus on Scotland and air rifles, Callum? Northern Ireland require air guns to be on a certificate long before Scotland. See, you learn something new every day. Genuinely didn't know that. Northern Ireland is a funny place, though. Let's be honest when it comes to UK law. Funny in a good way, and don't get me wrong, but you can have handguns, but you've got to register. I would take that trade. I genuinely would take that trade. You can have handguns, but you have to license your air guns. That's the only way I would support airgun licensing. I think it's a superb. That's how you get all the Scots to, yeah, get a license, have a handgun as well. Everyone would sign up. Callum for Prime Minister. I know that's not the point you were trying to make there, William Tell, but I found my way. Daniel. Well, if you're not allowed to talk about it, why did you type it? I might have to put you on the naughty step for 5 minutes. It's interesting that I've never seen illegal crossbow use, even though there is a shop that sells them close to me, as well as all the websites that ship them straight to the door. Are you sure about that? Because there was quite a big incident recently that actually sparked a huge discussion within the UK about crossbow licensing. Namely, I'm gonna get the video up because it's like it's funny, not funny. I'm just gonna type in crossbow. Oh no, let's go crossbow police. There's gonna be a video. Let me find the video. So yes, I'm not saying this is a reason why crossbows should be registered, but you're talking about there's not been issues with crossbows in the UK. This sparked a massive debate. So guy in a town centre, like on a night out with a bloody crossbow, and it does look, yeah, that thing is loaded and ready to go. And the reason it's no Metro, I do not want you sending me notifications. So police turn up, right? And these are normal bobbies. They're not armed police, you know, firearms. I don't even know if they've got a taser. They might do, but still, it's like the crossbow is mightier than the sword. Police, oh, he's got a crossbow. We should go and do something about it. Oh, that's it. He puts it down. You actually see that. Because they're sort of like, that guy's got a crossbow, probably shouldn't go near him. He puts it down, runs back, picks it up. Police run away. Because, like, what are they going to do? The guy's got a crossbow. He then, I think he does then throw it down, and then he gets arrested. But yeah, it's like, what's the best way to? It's like scary funny. You know, sort of see the police. You know, we're gonna get it. No, he's picked it up. Run. But the guy was like obviously on something during this. But again, like we don't, you know, in terms of your everyday crossbow shooter, in terms of crossbow ownership in the UK, incidences like this are very minute, and no one was actually hurt, right? Apart maybe from the police's pride, because it was like, oh, that's right, he's throwing it down there, so they're like, right, we can get him. So they go to get him, then he runs back to a crossbow, and they're like, oh no, get the fuck out of here. It's like, it's amusing somehow. I know it's not necessarily the funniest thing on the world, and maybe the most appropriate thing to chuckle about, but it was a bit like, and I think they did actually have tasers. But yeah, that sparked a whole discussion here in the UK about whether crossbows should be licenses, and we actually got the quite reassuring response from, oh yeah, it was a big, I think it reached like a couple of 100,000 signatures on the petition, and we got a quite reassuring response from our government that they were like, no, like it's working fine. These instances are rare. Why do we don't need to knee jerk. We're like, if only you'd taken that line like 25 years ago, you bastards. You can't legislate for dickheads, but they try. They try. They have to be seen to be doing something. I mean, in terms of illegally plink, say in the woods at bings, etc., I found loads of pellets, never found any bolts. Okay, right, yeah. They are occasionally misused, but anything's misused. Cars are regularly misused. We don't license them. We license the driver, which is again what we sort of do with shooters here in the UK. Yep, I'm on number 2. Watch out, could get fruity. I think only firearms officers are allowed tasers in the UK. I don't think that's correct. I think there's been various initiatives recently where more general police are being trained with tasers. It's all about training. It's not, I don't think at all it's anything to do with only firearms officers can have tasers. It's who is trained to use them, because the consequences of a taser are a lot less. Let's be honest about it. Not that I think they should just be handing them out like Skittles, but if a police officer doesn't, I think it does require a lower level of training to be safe with. But anyway, in more ridiculous firearms news, I did post this up on the English Shooting Facebook page. If you want to sort of get instant sort of updates and news about what's going on here in the UK and sometimes in the world, then head over to the English Shooting Facebook page. It's at English Shooting UK is the tag, but just search English Shooting. And we've got a group as well. You can go and join the group for general chats. But yes, I saw this being posted around on Facebook. Now it's maybe not clear exactly what this is, but when you upload, and I like this system, I agreed with it, and so far it has worked well, but I haven't actually uploaded a video in a while, so I haven't seen myself firsthand if this has changed. Yes, I'm aware I haven't uploaded a dedicated video in a while. I've been busy, okay, give me a break. I'm allowed some time off, all right? I'm not giving up, there will be videos. I am working on them, I promise. But yeah, when you upload a video to YouTube, you have to go through various declarations. You have to say what the content is and whether that content is going to be ad friendly. So this isn't necessarily about your video suitability, whether or not the video is going to get taken down, whether or not you're going to get a strike on your channel or such, but whether it's going to be safe for ads, as it says right there. This is all about advertising, because we had this massive thing about Coca-Cola being on certain videos and obviously not wanting to be associated with certain videos. So if you tick this box, non and semi-automatic and unmodified guns shown in a safe environment, blah blah blah, then it's safe for ads. And they've changed the wording of these, where pretty much this used to cover everything that I did here on the channel. However, if you select this one now content that shows gun creation or modification, that has been like that for a while. That will get your video demonetized. Or moreover, YouTube will still put ads on your video, you just won't get the money for it. But the thing that has now changed, content showing guns modified with a bump stock or hair triggers, right? So hair trigger, well, first of all, like, define what a hair trigger is, but that's pretty much any Olympic rifle or pistol. Any gun that is used for Olympic discipline, for serious target shooting, they have hair triggers, right? Any thermal or infrared sights, okay, so that's stalking done, that's night shooting done, that's vermin shooting done at night, or using any thermal or incendiary ammunition. Incendiary ammunition, well, again, what sort of incendiary, okay, yeah, like, you have to ask why. But the thing that really concerns me now, that will demonetize your video and not make it eligible or safe for ads. Content featuring large capacity magazines, 30 rounds or more, attached to or separate from the gun. So basically, any IPSC video is now banned. Anybody with, unfortunately, with pretty much any mag load extension base on it. So if you've got a standard 1522, well, if you've got a standard 1522, what are you doing with your life? It should be modified and covered with mag load, because it just should, trust me. Not biased at all. And yeah, so basically any extension. So a standard 25 round magazine, you're fine, but a 30 round magazine with you put an extension on it, that's it. Suddenly not safe for ads. Like, why? Like, again, why does it make a difference? Why does 30 round magazines make it unsuitable for ads, but 25 isn't? Like, what are you going to do with 30 that you can't do with 25? I understand there are probably some answers to that question. Please don't put those in the chat. But it's absolutely arbitrary. Like, this whole thing, like, and this is why, like, originally I agreed with this, and I did say at the time, it could be used to exploit. It could be used to start going down a path that is absolutely mad, like it's complete insanity, and won't actually do anything to make anybody safer or YouTube a better place. But it's guns outside of a control environment. Like, to me, that sounds fairly sensible. If it's within a range, if it's within a licensed premises or a controlled premises, then it's quite likely that the shooting that is being done there is going to be safe, right? But, and using BB guns against others without protective gear, like, fine. Like, again, advertisers don't want to necessarily be having or being associated or having their adverts put on videos where people are potentially losing eyes. So that seems fairly sensible. But 30 rounds? Like mine is using guns without adult supervision. Again, I can sort of get that, but suddenly the magical 30 round, the magical, at least they haven't called it high capacity or large capacity, but that's actually wrong. Like, it should be high capacity. Like, large capacity is more like it's a 50 BMG rather than a 223. But suddenly, for 30 rounds, YouTube has gone down this magical 30 round route. Absolutely meaningless. So I'm going to see if that has an effect. So far, I'm not seeing any videos. I'm not having like any notifications or strikes or anything going on. So I'm not seeing an effect from that. But yeah, next time I upload a video, it'll be interesting to see what it presents to me, because YouTube is also changes between country. That could be for Europe or for America, and then the criteria in the UK is different, because they're probably going, well, they can't own guns in the UK, so we don't need to worry about it. Very odd set of rules, Callum. Almost like they want to fleece more money out of content creators. You're talking a lot of money. You're not individually, but accumulatively. You end up taking, £10 a month off of every content creator. There's a lot of content creators. That's a lot more money for YouTube and a lot more money for Google. I get it. I get trying to make YouTube a more sensible, ad-friendly place. The whole reason you have professional YouTubers is because of the income revenue. You need to protect that income revenue. You need to protect the ads. You need to keep advertisers advertising with you. I get it. But do something that actually is sensible. Do something that is going to have an effect. Not this mythical 30-round magazine. It's like, just show them a Liam Feld with a mad minute. Well, that will probably get rapid fire put under not safe for ads. Better not see Ben Ducker then, that's for sure. So it's utterly ridiculous. What about a pallet of barrels of ammunition sitting on your floor in plain view of the video? Would this be banned because 50,000 rounds is greater than 30? As long as it's not in a magazine. And that's the crazy thing. It's like, it's literally just the magazine. You don't need to have any ammunition in the magazine. Just the magazine, just the presence of a 30 round or larger magazine will get your video demonetized. I mean, YouTube will still put ads on it and take the money for it. You just won't get paid for it. YouTube is poo now. It's not as bad. When I first saw this, I thought it would take a lot longer, and I thought it would be a lot worse when it started to go downhill. Maybe they'll change it. I don't know. Using a gun in the field hunting while creating a video should be fine, as long as you're not using a 30 round magazine or using infrared or night vision. Then it won't be fine. The criteria is exactly the same as sent to Australian YouTubers. Yeah, then we're fucked. Okay, so I have clips sitting there on said barrels. Let's load them up. As long as the clips aren't over 30 rounds, you're fine. I'm assuming you mean stripper clips, and you're not referring to magazines as clips, because that would be wrong. Not to get on my high horse. Some news, and unfortunately I only saw this literally just before we went live this evening, but the results of the survey that we recently did, so this was the Association of Police and Crime Commissioners, have started to release the results of the online survey. This was the survey that the police put out there on firearms licensing in the wake of the Plymouth shooting. I told you all that it was very important that you went and put your input in it, and more than 24,000 people have responded, less than the subscribership of this channel. Right? That there are like this. Oh, I'm gonna go off on one. Just calm, just breathe, right? There's like 700,000 license holders in the UK. Why the fuck do we only have 24,000 responses? We are our own worst enemies. That is less than 5%. Less than 5%, and that's not 24,000 license holders that's responded. That's 24,000 people that responded, right? Even if it's, let's say it's like at best 80% of those were license holders, that starts bringing it more to like 2-3% of license holders. Like, and we wonder why we get stuff taken away. We wonder why. You guys, I haven't showed you, have you? I need to bring this up. This is actually from the help of Basque. Whilst I will have my rants and my raves and my comments about Basque, they are a good source of news and information. And here, the Association of Police Crime Commissioner released the findings of an online survey conducted in the wake of the recent shootings in Plymouth. More than 24,000 people responded. Right, that should be hundreds of thousands, right? Literally, like, and this is the thing: is this survey directly affects firearms license holders. It directly affects shotgun certificate holders. Like, it's not about, oh, that doesn't affect me. Well, I'm not into AR shooting. I like my side by side over, or over and under. This affects every license holder. And at best, less than 5% have responded. It's literally like we don't care. And you sort of have to get to the point of, like, bearing in mind, I'm not a license holder, right? I signed it. I spent my time doing it, right? So I know there was one person in there that wasn't a license holder. So at best, that's 23,999 people, certificate holders that responded. Like, this is gonna the results of this survey are going to directly affect license holders in the UK. Every single one of them, without excuse, should have signed this. Not signed it. Should have filled this in. Should have responded to this, right? And I can't find any of the results at the moment. But the headline at the moment: the survey found that 70% of existing certificate holders believe what. Wait a minute. Am I The survey found that 70% of existing certificate holders believe that a so-called enduring marker should be placed on the medical records of gun holders. See, like, I genuinely haven't had a lot of time to like divulge this. I saw it, I highlighted it, and then we ended up doing the stream, right? Survey found that 70% of existing certificate holders, but only 24,000 people responded. Can someone like explain how those numbers add up somehow? Is that 70% of holders that are certificate holders that responded? I don't know. Maybe I'm reading that wrong. Maybe my dyslexia is going haywire here. But 70% of existing certificate holders, that's saying that's like that should be that should be like 500,000 people. But anyway, I think, I don't know, maybe I'm reading that wrong. I think that what that's meant to be is 70% of certificate holders that responded believe that so-called enduring markers should be placed on medical records of gun holders. Among the wider public, that figure rose to 87%. And 86% and 87% of existing certificate holders believe, again, I think it's certificate holders that responded, believe GPs should inform the police if they become aware of a change of health which could impact the certificate holder's ability to safely own a gun. Within the general public, that figure rose to 93%. So you can see here, and I'm not getting into discussion right this second. That might come later. I'm not necessarily saying which is right and which is wrong, but what you can see is that the general public want more restrictions. The general public are pushing for things to be tougher, for more checks and balances, for more restrictions, more legislation, right? And certificate holders are pushing or agreeing with that less. So there were various points in there that could have been very, very dangerous to us as a sport in terms of recouping the full costs of and that was one of the main points that we discussed on a previous live stream. There was a thing there which was recouping the full costs of the certification, right? First of all, we don't know what that is. It could be £1 million for all we know. The public, because we don't know the distribution between how many people signed it that were certificate holders and how many people that signed it were general public. But if the public are going from those figures, the general public are going to push much harder and be much more in agreement that the full costs should be recovered. So the importance of more certificate holders filling in this survey was to balance the scale, was to bring it down so that the results of the survey wouldn't swing for more cost. You know, like this is the thing. I bet, mark my words, because of the lack of response from shooters here for this survey, the public is going to sway it and give, and this is what I said was going to happen like weeks ago. But basically, it's going to give the police the justification to go, yes, a firearm certificate should be £1,000 now, right? And I bet you, as soon as that happens, you will have a lot more than 24,000 certificate holders up in arms, right? And this is like the literal shooting yourself in the foot of the shooting community. When you have an opportunity to balance the scales, to have your say, to give meaningful input to the police, we don't choose to do it. But I can bet you, as soon as something negative happens, you will have hundreds of thousands of shotgun certificate holders going, what, like, no one told us about this. And I did see the comment about Basque not shouting loud enough about it. No. And to be fair, I felt that I didn't do enough about it. I felt I didn't do, the channel as a whole didn't do enough about it. because unfortunately it was right through the move and buying of this house, so I didn't have a lot of spare time. But that was the video that was at the top of the list. I need to do this video. I need to do this video. Do a dedicated video to get it out there. But I was talking about it every single live stream since its announcement until its closure, and pushing it out on Facebook, and just trying to talk to as many people about it as possible and tell as many people about it as possible. But yeah, I do feel, you know, that should have done a dedicated video. Like, that's I could have done more on it. But yes, BAS could have done more as well. And they are sort of technically paid to do this sort of thing. I mean, and this is the bonkers thing as well. And I don't want to start getting into a whole BAS rant. It doesn't take much. You know, they like to boast about how many members they have, right? I think it's like 150,000 members. 24,000 responses. Right, you want to talk about efficient communications to your members, right? I'll give them as much credit as possible. Let's say that all those 24,000 people are certificate holders. Let's just say that all of those 24,000 certificate holders were BASC members. That's still only like 15% of the BASC membership. Does that work out? Is it 15%? Yeah, like 15%. At the very, 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 very best, right? And we all know that it's not going to be 24,000 certificate holders, and we know that the percentage of certificate holders that did respond is going to be a low percentage of BASC members, right? 15%. 15% effective in the very, very best case scenario, which is completely unrealistic. BASC managed to get 15% of their members to sign this. Like the NRA, although the NRA do, I think they have like 20 or 30,000 members. Let me just double check. NRA UK membership numbers. They probably don't show it anymore because it's probably going down. Where is it? Where, like, surely you'd be shouting about how many members. Nope, that's the US. I was saying 5.5 million. I was like, what? I generally don't know how many members of the NRA. But as far as I'm aware, the NRA didn't post about this either, or they certainly didn't post as much as they should have. Like, so yeah, you know, we're fucked. Sell your guns, get rid of it, buy a boat, be happy. That's what we should do. Because like how can somebody that doesn't have certificates do more and get more enthused about the protection of the sport than actual certificate holders? Like, that's the irony of this, right? Just absolutely. Anyway, what do you guys think about that? Not very happy. %70% of certificate holders who responded agree. Yeah, that's it. That's what BAS should have wrote. Apart from that, I don't know. It is disheartening. It really genuinely is. I don't get it. It baffles me. It absolutely baffles me. The lack of self-preservation of this community. They love it. You go into any clubhouse in Bisley. Oh yes, they love taking it away from us. We're gonna have nothing left at this rate. Yeah, and you think it's the police and the Home Office. There's a mirror in the bathroom. I suggest you go and look at it. I saw the same thing in the run-up to the handgun ban, shooters leaving it to the next man to take action, total apathy. Many FAC holders deserve to lose their sport. Like, I absolutely hate that sentence. Like, genuinely detest that sentence that you've just written there. It doesn't make it any less true. Like, that's oh, but they took it away from us. You laid down, you let them walk over you, like, and I'm not talking about, this isn't about marching in the streets. This isn't about going to the extreme levels of protection, right? This is about filling in a survey that took 30 seconds. Yeah, the UK NRA are just FUDs. There needs to be more organisations like the GOA and the Firearms Coalition in more countries. Gun Owners of America, I think that is. I love shooting. I love my guns. A great sport. Yeah, so do I. It wouldn't. If I didn't love it that much, wouldn't be still doing this, would I? Even in Scotland, most people were against the air weapons control, and they did it anyway. I'm not saying that if all 700,000 license holders had responded and, it'd been like 1% of total response, basically everything was in favour for us in terms of responses. I'm not saying that the police and Home Office and whatever are just going to completely ignore it and do what they wanted to do anyway. But it's just an own goal. But just 24,000 people responded. What's the British shooting show attendance? This is just it's a real kick in the dick. Estimated turnout 20,000 to 50,000 visitors. So yeah, more people will go and walk around a shooting show than will go and sign a petition, or go and fill in a survey that could potentially protect our sport. Here's a suggestion. If we don't get off our asses and start filling in these surveys and responding when asked about input, there won't be any shooting shows to go to. Or if we do, it will be for spud guns. It will be the Great British Spud Gun Shooting Show. Maybe I should go and trademark that. Anyway, it's just so disheartening. But talking of shows, whilst we still have guns to go and look at, there is one of my personal highlights of the year, alongside the British Shooting Show and the Northern Shooting Show, the Target Shooting Show. We talked about it last week, but I'm gonna tell you guys about it again. If you're into your practical, if you're into your target shooting, if you're watching this and you've subscribed and follow this channel, don't forget to subscribe and like. Do it now. Do it now. Now, yes, you hit the like button. Hit it. Yes. So if you're into your target sporting, so target shooting and target sports, and you're watching this channel, you probably are. There is the only target dedicated shooting show called the Target Shooting Show. It's in the name. It's Ronsill, right? And it's next weekend. It's the 20th to the 21st of November. I'm going to be there all weekend with the Magload crew. So's Connors, so's Paul. We're going to be on the stand, on the Magload stand all weekend. So, you don't have to come and buy anything. It would be nice. We do have rent to pay. I've got a mortgage to pay for now, so even more justification, right? But go and if you just want to come and hang out and say hi and chew the fat, come and do it. It's a great atmosphere. The guy that runs it is superb. It's being run for all the right reasons, to give a dedicated target shooting show. You don't get the, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this, but you don't get the rows of wooden shotguns. Like, this is all the guns that I'm primarily interested in. It's all the disciplines that personally I'm most interested in. I love a good clay pigeon shoot. I love I love my Beretta over and unders. I love fine, detailed, engraved shotguns. But I love my black guns as well. And this is very much a black gun show. It's your ARs, it is your AIs, it's the target shooting show. It's practical. It's got the UKPSA has a big presence there. Firing salute, like the biggest stand. I don't know if I can show you the floor plan because we were sent the floor plan a few days ago. So the biggest stand by far is Firing Solutions. Firing Solutions is arguably a practical retailer. It's all about, they are a magload dealer. They sell double alpha, all reloading stuff for long barreled revolvers and things like that. So they are a practical focused. They have the practical focused business, practical focused shop and retailer. They have the biggest stand by far. Like that gives you an indication of what this sort of show is, and what you can expect there. So yeah, come and join. It's the 20th to the 21st of November, and we will be we're going out for a big meal with I think it's the iWholesale guys, the Caliber guys, and team and the XPSC guys at a pub. I might talk to them about sort of having a drink. I threaten to do this every single shooting show, have like a meet and a drink up. Meet up and a drink. Drink up works as well. But yeah, so we can like put the details of that, go there after the show, have a couple of drinks. I will be eating my own body weight in meat because this place, it's like a proper American barbecue. Need I say more? Tickets in terms of price, only £12.50 for adult ticket. Absolutely knob all these days. That's in advance, so if you want to go and go and buy it now. Under 16's free. Why am I just reading this off? I can show you. On the day, 15 quid. So even on the day, 15 quid, not bad at all. Due to the show's partnership with the NSRA members, with their membership card, will receive a discounted entry on the door. So yeah, and you can tell by the website, ARs, 50 BMG. This is the sort of stuff. Helga, the most famous gun on the internet, as declared by me. It's Ely's there. I think the exhibitors is out of date, but you get an idea. The official show partners, the Target Sport, the Tunnel Target Sports Centre, Shield sites, the NSRA. The NSRA actually for once feel like the odd ones out. Like genuinely, but fair dues. We're all about Target Sports. But yeah, 50 Cal Society. There's a lot of Cotswold Classic Arms. Oh, and also, if you needed any more justification to go there, if you're interested in seeing the new, well, it's not the Shield LBP, but it is the Shield LBP, that's going to be launched there as well. You'll be there on Sunday, rugby on Saturday. I didn't know you played rugby. Illegals that say they are under 18 get away with it and pay $12.50. Have you got any special deals and try before you buy stuff going on, Callum? I don't believe we're going to be doing any special deals. I'm sure if you come and ask us really, really nicely and chat us up a little bit and bring us, maybe like we should do a thing. If you bring us a Pepsi Mac, we'll do you a deal. Keep us fed and in Pepsi Max. Your chances of getting a deal dramatically increase. But in terms of try before you buy, absolutely, we're going to have guns on display on the stand for you to see all the various products on the gun. In terms of loaders, the main thing that people come to the shows to see in terms of mag load are the loaders, to actually get the loaders in their hand before they go in. You spent your hard-earned money on it. So there will be all the different variations of Nexus Element, all the different sizes of Nexus Element, right hand, left hand, all the different sizes and configurations of Nexus Pro, and you'll be able to come in, get them side by side in your hand. We can put a loading rig on you, and you can try them out. I think we will have a Section 2 gun there, so you'll be able to at least dual load. I don't know necessarily the legalities on quad loading, if it's with dummy rounds. Potentially might have to look into that, but yes, you'll be able to come in, get hands-on with the kit, try on a belt, try all the different sizes, configure click. A lot of people, and this is really, it is literally like down to me in terms of portraying products and the configurations, but a lot of people as well wait to see us in person to configure their click setup on their belt. I think that probably needs a little bit of work on the Magload website, but again, if we all have our full product range, everything, I am beating everyone in the office at the moment to make sure that we stay in good stock of everything before the show. So we will have everything in stock. Any product that you want to come and see, any color that you want to come and see it in, it will be there. You can try it, you can get hands on, and we're more than happy to help you out, walk you through and talk about what you need and what's going to be best for what you want. Don't forget as well, you don't need to necessarily just come to a show. We're open you don't need to make an appointment. You can turn up at Magload. We're based down in Havant on the south coast. You can turn up anytime between between 10 and 4 Monday to Friday. If you want to come outside of those hours, just let us know. It's not an issue. We're normally there to sort of 6-7 o'clock at night, and usually there from about, well, we're usually there, somebody's usually there from about 8:30, 9. But yeah, if you want to come you come down and check something out, if you just happen to be in the area and you want to drop by, please do. It genuinely makes our day when someone comes and rings on the doorbell and they want to come and check out some stuff. So I was going to say something else, but I'll get in trouble for saying that. Come down any time between Monday and Friday, 10 till 4. We'll help you out. We'll talk you through it. We had a customer there today, and he was very grateful. He's like, really appreciate your time. It's like this. We want people to buy the right stuff. We're not just rip-off artists. We don't want to just take your money and run off. We want you to be happy with what you buy. We want you to feel like you've made the right choice, and we will do everything possible to make sure that is the case. Again, weekends, we are usually there. I'm going to be there this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, so is Connor's. So if you want to come down the weekend, whilst it's not our stated opening hours, you can just drop us a message, drop us an email, let us know, and when we book you in. We actually have a customer coming down on Sunday, to try out belts, to try out rigs. So you don't need to necessarily come to the show, but highly recommend it, because it's not just going to be us there. It's going to be anybody within the anybody worth seeing within the target shooting industry and community. Loads of Magload Pepsi Max with speed belt rigs coming your way. You joke. But yeah, it's going to be, I'm really looking forward to it. It's the first proper show since the British Shooting Show 2020. So, we didn't have the Northern Shooting Show 2020. We haven't had the British and Northern Shooting Show this year. So it's been like over 18 months since a show. So we're very much looking forward to it. Callum is secretly planning to move to the US. Maybe not. I can neither confirm nor deny. But anyway, hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. We do this every single week. We do the live stream every single week, 7:30 UK time on a Thursday. And I promise you videos are coming soon. Just moved house. I know this excuse is going to wear thin, but the room is still... This might be fairly set up. Like, I think I've finally got my stream set up how I want it. I need to probably get a few different brackets and get it more permanently fixed, but I'm happy with this setup. I did notice I'm probably a little dark, so I might need to get one more light, but I'll sort that out, don't worry. But the rest of the room is still an absolute tip. So yeah, try and sort that out as soon as possible. But yeah, just who knew having your own place took so much time. I spent the whole weekend putting lights in. much prefer to be putting videos. But yeah, dedicated videos are coming soon. But until then, absolutely every Thursday, 7:30 p.m. UK time, we do the live stream. So make sure that you're subscribed for that. And again, hit the like button. It does genuinely really help with the analytics and beating YouTube and getting it out to more people. But I am going to wrap it up there because I am bloody hungry, and I've had a long day, quite tired. That's right, get the violin out for me. But yeah, I need to have something to eat. But yes, so next Thursday, 7:30 p.m. UK time, and I'm going to try all my hardest to get a video out. But before then, there's some really interesting things. I am doing work behind the scenes for videos. I have loads of ideas. And of course, there are an abundance of guns at Magload now, so we should be able to knock out some cool videos with that very, very soon. So hoping you get your FAC back. Really appreciate that. But yeah, I can see other questions. I really am waning at this point. My stomach is currently eating itself and I'm wasting away. There's not much of me, as you can see. It's quite a narrow lens, that's why. But yeah, hope you all have a fantastic week. Thanks for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed it. And of course, as always, hope to see you soon.